What should you be aware of when dating Vietnamese women? That is the question that so many of you have probably been asking yourself. And I'm coming to you today with a real story, with a true story that I have gotten to know through one of my exes when I was living in Asia. And it's really interesting to see how the dynamics work for rich people as well as poor people. So the key takeaway from this video is so that you can hopefully see what this person did wrong. So the guy that was dating that Vietnamese woman that I have gotten to know, and so that you can make the decision for yourself as to whether you want to do exactly the same thing, make the same mistakes, or learn from this experience so you can actually have it better than others. There was this girl, like I said, and she was a friend of one of my exes back then. And I'll never forget the stories that I heard from my ex back then when her friend told her about the relationship she had with another European guy. She was together with this guy from Croatia, just an average guy, a regular guy, hardworking guy, was looking to get married to a Vietnamese woman. And so he didn't live in Vietnam at that time, he lived in Europe, but he flew into Vietnam several times a year so they could spend time together. You know, she had very high expectations in terms of what he needed to do in order for her to really feel good about the relationship and take it to the next level. Something that's very typical, something that you wouldn't think, would cause any issues, but it actually did cause some issues down the road. She always felt underappreciated. She thought that, well, this guy isn't really showing me more and more and more like I deserve. And it started out with him, wanting to split the bills, certain bills, something that is very typical in the West. If you date in the West, then it isn't unheard of for you to split certain bills. If you go on vacation, then odds are you're probably going to share certain bills. Maybe, your girlfriend is going to pay for her flight ticket. If she earns more money than you, then maybe she's going to pay for both of your tickets. That is very normal in the West, but coming from that mindset, into Asia, you kind of have to learn the hard way that things really don't work like that in Asia, because Asian women have a very different expectation. No matter how much money they have, if you come to Asia, what they want from you is to be the provider. And that holds true even for women that are wealthy, that have a good amount of money, that have more than enough money to pay their own bills, yet they still want the Western guy to take care of them, no matter how much money they have. That is something that really confuses the hell out of Western guys, because it's not how things work back home. In our culture, it's very typical for the woman to contribute, depending on how much she makes. If she makes a lot less, she's gonna contribute a lot less. If she makes nothing, there's no problem with the guy paying for most, if not all of the stuff. But if there is an equal amount of money earned on both sides, it's very typical, in fact, almost impossible for her not to contribute a good amount or an equal amount. That is something that was not okay with my ex's friend, and she was like, well, I gotta make a decision. I personally think I'm worth so much more that I can't be together with this guy that, doesn't give me any more benefits. He doesn't buy me that house. He doesn't donate enough. He's just not valuable enough. And what happened to my ex's friend is that she also started surrounding herself with richer people. And so, if you get in a new circle, in a new social circle, and you have less, or the person you're with has less than the average person in that circle, then surely something's got to change. Maybe you leave that circle, or you replace the person you're with, to find someone more suitable. That's actually what happened. So after 7 years of being in a relationship, probably not too happy a good amount of the time, she decided it was time to let go. What's interesting here is that, and that's, by the way, a universal principle, which is that most relationships are ended by women and not men. Women want to start these relationships, but they also end them. And depending on what statistics you look at, you're looking at 80 to 90% of the time when women actually ended relationships or marriages. It's a very important statistic, a very important number to focus on for a guy, because you want to see, where you are at in the relationship, and most of the times things may be your fault, may not be your fault, but still the person you're with is going to end the relationship. Something that I almost forgot to mention was that one of the main reasons why she decided it was time to let go was because of her direction in life. She started a business which involved importing goods from other countries into Vietnam. And you can make a lot of money in a business like that, especially if you can avoid paying taxes, which is something that she definitely did. Anyway, let's move forward here and talk about the next phase in the story, which was that she met a pretty wealthy guy who worked at an air traffic control center in Australia. He had a salary, I believe, of roughly 200 to 250,000 Australian dollars a year, which is definitely a very high salary for any person, and that was already like, what, 6-7 years ago. So she came out of that relationship and got immediately into a new relationship with a much richer person. And there's no question that the business that she started just a little bit earlier had a lot to do with her decision to leave her former boyfriend and get together with a different man. Now, what's interesting is that the new guy that she was with, he also ended a relationship. He divorced his Australian wife. He had, I believe, 2 to 3 children. He lost a good amount of money there because he had to divorce in order to let go of all of this. He was paying child support. But, if you earn 250,000 Australian dollars a year, then you can probably afford all these extra expenses, you would think. And that's something that, wasn't really too much of a concern to him. What's interesting here is that she went for the bigger fish. She went for a whale. Definitely. She thought that that new guy was the right person to be with. He was wealthier, he was a bit older. And what's the most important part here, the most important of all, is that that guy opened up his wallet like nobody else did before. And that's exactly what these women want. They want somebody that's loose. If you're loose, if you have deep pockets and you're loose, boom, you're gonna get a ton of business. A ton of business in the sense that you're going to have a lot of women. That's just how it is. Women are drawn to money. Women are drawn to fame. They are drawn to a higher class lifestyle. They are drawn to money. That's unquestionable. Before her parents allowed her to marry this guy, there was a contingency. And that contingency was predicated on him purchasing a home for her in order to prove to the family that he was not after their money. So in their perspective, he was after their money because, she was not from a poor family. Her parents were well off, and now she had that business. She started making more money, and she started also to invest in real estate. And here comes that guy that had a good amount of money, and he had to prove that his love was authentic, that his love was genuine. And the only way to prove it to the Vietnamese family was by making a donation. That's what I call it. It's a donation, because you're investing in a property that never belongs to you. You're never going to have it. You're never going to get it back. And that was the requirement from the parent side. They said, you know what? We're going to see how good this guy is. We're going to see what he really can do. And our demand, what we want from him is to show us that his love is authentic, that he really wants to be with her. That's a mental trick anyway. That's how it worked in the good old days. But in the good old days, what was the case was that both parties must have, given something away. So if a king married a queen from another kingdom, the king obviously had to bring a lot of gold, a lot of silver, and that's how he proved that he was the king, and that was kind of like a gift. But very, very much the same, the queen also had to return the favor to the other kingdom. But we don't see that when dating in Asia. When dating in Asia, even if you come in as a rich guy and you marry a local person that's rich, you're never going to have anything that belongs to her. You're never going to have that. Because for an Asian woman, what's on top of her list, and that's something that one of my subscribers commented, which was one of the best comments ever, is that herself, that's number one. That's her number one priority, herself. Number 2 priority is the family, the parents, the mother. Number 3, the kids, her kids, right? Number 4, the pets, if she has any. Number 5, her friends. And here you come, number 6, it's going to be the boyfriend or the husband. And then number 7 would be the ex-husband or a boyfriend. That's how the order works. And it's sad because you bring so much to the table, and that guy, he bought her a $350,000 home just so he could get married to her. Now, this is a lot of money to anyone. You know, $350,000 is a good amount of money. I don't care how much money you have. If you have a couple million, $350,000 is still a lot of money. If it's after-tax money, that is a lot of money. You know, you have to already pay your taxes on it. That is net profit. That is net money that you got in your hands. And he just handed it over. And she didn't hand anything over to him. You know, he could have made the same argument saying that, you know what, you got to prove to me that you were after me for the right reasons, because I also bring a lot to the table. And it isn't just me that has money, you also have money. But in order for me to trust you, you also need to do something. You also need to buy me something, or, you know, make an equal contribution. And of course, he didn't have the balls to make that statement because, you know, he was foolish. And he thought that he could buy love overseas. And that's what I've been preaching over the past couple of videos, guys. Don't be foolish. You know, don't think just because you're in Asia, you know, you can get younger women, you know, because you donate, because you give them money. I mean, you don't want to be the fool, right? You want to get a good deal. And if it's a good deal, if you find a rich girl, it can be a good deal. But if you have to add a lot on top before you can even be together with her, and if she does nothing for you in return, if she has these financial demands, and if they're not met, she's not going to be together with you, that's a big red flag and you got to pull out. Or, you know, if she makes these demands, but she's also giving in return, that's a whole other story. But show me an Asian woman, show me a Vietnamese woman who is willing to do that. And I have known so many, and I know so many stories, and that just never happened. I've never seen a Western guy that ended up with a free property given to him by his Vietnamese girlfriend or wife. It just never happened. If you know a story like this, let me know. I want to discuss it on this channel because it's going to be something very unique. Why this is important is because taking a look at the good old days, when a queen was only allowed to marry a king was only allowed to marry a queen. Only people from an equal level playing field were allowed to marry another. There was no other option. You know, like a queen wasn't allowed to marry a duke, right? Or a king wasn't allowed to marry a butler, you know, a maid. That just wasn't the case. You know, they had kids with these people, but it wasn't socially accepted. One of the fastest ways to get rich, if you don't have anything at all, one of the fastest ways to get rich is by marrying someone who is rich. You know, is it morally okay? Is it socially accepted? People don't really care about that anymore. And that's what these young Asian women know very well. They know how to play the game. They know how to wrap you around their finger so they can do with you whatever you want. So you gotta be careful. Now, does this affect all Asian women? Of course it doesn't. There's a ton of simple, conservative Asian women that would love to be with you without, you know, placing all these crazy demands in order for you to marry them. There's a lot of good women like that, but you have to search for them and you have to try them out. And you have to really see what they, you know, ask you for before you can be together. Or if there's any kind of requirements from the parent side, you know, for you to marry, you have to be really careful, right? It's not easy to find a good woman, not even in Asia, you know, because a lot of them have been spoiled, a lot of them have been brainwashed because of social media. And what I want for you is to find a good match. You're probably not going to find her online. You know, you just need to be patient and you need to find the right women, but you don't want to be the person that says, you know what, I'm going to donate $350,000. I'm going to get you that house so I can be together with you. Doesn't matter how much money you have. You can maybe have a place together, but it doesn't feel morally okay to do that. And don't let anyone force you to do that just so they can love you or pretend to love you. What are some other things that people should be aware of when dating Asian women? Leave a comment below and let us know. Make sure you share this video with your friends. It helps me out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm uploading new videos on digital nomad locations, travel updates, visas, crypto advice, and business advice several times a week right now. I highly recommend that you grab a free copy of my ebook, Nomad Elite, the Insider's Guide to Retaining a Life of Freedom. All you need to do is click on the link below the video. And if you got some more time left, check out these videos. Thank you for watching.